Okay, welcome back to 1d8 plus 1, the Leonal Orbs. And I was telling my story about football in the last video type thing. And from here, what I'm going to do now type thing, so I'm resetting the pieces type thing to give a more or less a sense type thing. And I need to kind of take some pieces out here and that type of thing. Get some other numbers going here. And that's here. And that's the king, so that's 1, and then that's 2, and then that's 3, and then that's 4. And in that type of thing here, that's 4 pieces behind, in that type of sense, these pieces here, from the king to the rook. And in that type of thing, we're going to move this one out, that one out. We're going to castle king side type thing in that type of sense, and bring the rook towards the center out type thing in that type of sense. We're going to assume the same thing here. That's bishop, that's queen here, that's a knight, and that's a rook type thing. And that's the 2 rooks type thing in the back row center, covering the whole center out type thing in that type of sense. And this would be, I believe, column D and E type thing in that type of sense. So that's D and E. So now these pieces here type thing become the center point type thing of coverage type thing. They're not the lead attack type thing, but if anything, the center tries to be retaken type thing. In that type of sense, that's exchange, 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 and those pieces disappear type thing. And now the rook has the complete center out type thing for attack type thing. If anything was strandedly left behind unprotected in the back, and they can start sweeping stuff, much like the queen can, and start tandeming up on things in that type of sense if people are out of place type thing, and create real havoc type thing in that type of sense. And now the king can't take the queen because the rook is covering that queen in that D column type thing, that type of sense. So then that's take, and then the rook is looking right at the king type thing, and that would be check, and they can't do that in that type of sense. And if they were closed up in there type thing, that would be checkmate. So the rooks in that type of sense are very dangerous with the support that they add type thing in that type of sense. And the support that they add normally for like tackling, like the defensive tackles type thing, and being the clothespin, are now set loose. They themselves type thing, out of this trapezoid type thing, become the hunters, the main 4 type thing, not the clothespin 3 or the I-beam 3, but they become the hunters. So now in that type of sense, you've got to take that, leaving the secondary where it is with 4 people, 2 cornerbacks type thing, and a free safety and a strong safety type thing. We flip this around type thing in that type of sense. Also, beforehand, since last video, bring this 10 down type thing here type thing in that type of sense. And now counting the boxes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes plus the strong safety. That's 5 on that line type thing in that type of sense. And that's a strong safety technique coming into the box in a 3-4 that's often seen by teams like Pittsburgh. We're bringing Troy Polamalu down the box with the rest of his linebackers. Fairly dangerous. But we're going to take this here. The same can occur here type thing in that type of sense, but doesn't. The strong safety never leaves the box in a 46, and then there's 1, 2, and 3 in there type thing. The free safety goes in the center up in the top with the 2 cornerbacks. So that's 3 plus the 8 in the box with 3 linebackers, and that's 3 plus 1, that's 4, plus 3, and then 4 here, but that's 4 plus 3 type thing in that type of sense. And then that's 4 plus 4 is 8 plus the 3 of the secondary type thing. So top of the fraction, bottom of the fraction. And then you add the 2 pieces together type thing. Fairly straightforward type thing. The other one was a 5. It was 3, 5, 3 in that type of sense. And that wasn't the exact same nomenclature type thing. Not the same vernacular, vocabulary, numerical calculation, philosophy, things of that nature. So in that type of sense, in any way you want to look at it, that is absolutely right. This is a 3-4. Now we need to take this thing, kind of like a lampshade type thing here, and we're going to make that trapezoid like a lampshade there. And it's got the same funnel thing to it. And we're going to take that, we're going to put that here type thing as the lampshade inverted type thing. So lampshade upright, and lampshade upside down. Just like the trapezoid type thing in that type of sense. Now with that thing, you've got there, and now you've got the rooks on the bottom type thing in that type of sense. There's the 2 rooks there, and the 2 rooks from black, and that is here and here. And those are the 2 defensive tackles and 2 defensive ends type thing in that type of sense. These form a different type of linchpin type thing in that type of sense, because now the support beam or clothespin type thing is actually the 1, 2, 3 type thing of the linebackers, but we don't have 4 linebackers. We have 1 less linebacker type thing in that type of sense. So they become the support role type thing, and the 4 in the front now become the lead role type thing. Now, a lot of 4-3s still like to use Brian Urlacher and other middle linebackers as the main hunt type thing in that type of sense. But since there's another person who's actually of a defensive tackle weight and not 240 or 260 in the middle, they're like 300, 298 or 318 or 330 type thing, there's a little bit more pressure in the middle type thing in that type of sense, because instead of 330 in the middle, you've got 660 in the middle type thing in that type of sense. And then from there in that type of thing, you've got the defensive ends like Mathis and Freeney being set loose. And so in that type of sense, they don't have to be just a linchpin type thing and move that whole line type thing. They can go ahead and realize that they got kind of a semi-line going in between the defensive tackles and go take off around the edges by themselves type thing and go sack the quarterback, much like the outside linebackers in a 3-4 would. And so in that type of sense, we've got to replace the rooks here type thing. And let me put my camera down here and look at some formation things there. And that's here, and that's here, and that's here, and here, and that's here, and here. And once again, that's right end and left end. But the lure of having those linebackers on the outside who don't have to line up behind the tackles is so exciting type thing that a lot of teams can't give that up. And so in there, what that happens type thing in that type of sense, there's the right end and the left end type thing. Now for the new San Francisco 49ers, who might go to a 2-4-5 nickel type thing, a lot of people say that they do. I actually still think they'll use a base 3-4. The whole point of the nickel type thing is that you're going to sub out one of your linebackers, and in exchange of them not being in the bottom of the fraction type thing, you're going to add another person, even beyond 3 or 4 type thing, to the top of your fraction. And that's going to change your pass defense and pass flight around type thing. 5 Daryl Reeveses running around, hunting for the ball in the air, and let's hope they don't all find the same one target type thing. Although there's miraculous catches type thing in that type of sense, there's also tips and also counter catches type thing by the free safeties or leering cornerbacks type thing in the area type thing in that type of sense, or didn't have anything else to do because there's too many people smacking the hands of that. Then the ball goes away from the receiver and the first cornerback and into the other cornerback's hand type thing. And that was not a fumble. The ball never hit the ground. So in that type of sense, it just got deflected in air type thing and got caught from the air type thing in that type of sense. And that makes it an interception. And from that type of thing in that type of sense, and they don't have to kneel that, they can run that back. So that makes that very dangerous type thing in that type of sense to throw into the hornet's nest like that in that type of sense, and then watch Woodson or Ed Reed return that for a touchdown. Because a lot of people are out of place and not exactly knowing where the ball is. That's a practical punt return for a touchdown, an equivalent in interception type thing as they break back across that field type thing towards the sideline, pylon type thing and score that touchdown. It is a thrill in Madden to do so type thing, to watch somebody's theory just break down into your hands like that and have you rush it all the way back and score it type thing, thus ending their quote-unquote power play drive in hockey equivalency. Much like forcing a fumble type thing and punching that football out of there. Catch that deflection type thing, you go on the fly, or the overthrow type thing, as Ed Reed used to say. Careless quarterbacks just attempted to throw it away without throwing it out of bounds, and they just throw it a little bit 10 yards out of reach, but he was playing 10 yards deeper than that cornerback and wide receiver were playing. He just catches that air ball type thing and then just starts running it back. Very, very dangerous. And that type of thing, it should have associated with some of these videos type thing with people in their play style type thing. But the 3-4 and 4-3, I guess we could call it the Mathis Freeney reason why it works type thing, but I'm not sure if we're doing enough depth to do that. So anyway, we're going to go back to our 3-4 back here type thing, or 4-3. That's a 4-3 type thing. That's 8, 9, and we need 10 in that type of thing. And that's the cornerbacks and the strong safeties. Hold on here so I get that whole thing there. And That's 4 people. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 people in the back, 4 total. And now we've got 1, 2, 3 people on this line type thing. Boom. So 3 plus 4, that's 7 total type thing. I'm going to go ahead and put up a 7 for right now. That's where our last calculation led up to. And in that type of thing, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the line type thing in that type of sense. So now our new math type thing is 7 plus 4 type thing in that type of sense. Or since we're doing the top part of our fraction is 4 and the bottom part of our fraction is 7, 4, 7 type thing, or 4 plus 7 in that type of sense. So that's here, that's 4 plus 7 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 11. Or in that type of sense, that's 7, and then plus 4 type thing in that type of sense, and that's also 11. And so in that type of sense, that now saves the nomenclature. So you're like, well, no one changed type thing, but we got a defensive tackle too in this formation type thing, not an extra linebacker. Linebackers typically weigh about 240, 260 type thing. This guy probably weighs about 298 or 320, 338 type thing, like Linval Joseph or second B.J. Raji in the middle type thing. So B.J. Raji next to Albert Hainsworth in the middle type thing. And that's a lot. There are teams that do that type of weight type thing in that type of sense. Detroit would be a team that comes to mind despite some of the attitude adjustment type thing of their play and putting that in scope type thing. They've got a detox from that type of nature type thing. And in the Detroit team type thing, that is Nick Farley and Dominic Sue. And so both of those two are in the middle type thing. Then they're defensive ends and their linebackers. And that's near the center type thing. And the formation of the offensive line doesn't always pinch together fast enough to deal with their disruption and any leadway from support disruption type thing from the 3 linebackers behind them. And so without it type thing, it makes traditional football playing very, very difficult versus that team and other defenses that work like them because of the way that they could rush up on the nose of the football type thing and create havoc. In that type of sense, I saw the Patriots do it type thing, and it took them like 3 quarters to switch out of it type thing. They stopped running up the middle, that was one. And in the second one type thing, but technically they didn't, because they never got a real good steam because of that accordion and Mozart play into the center type thing, which got dominated. And the other part was that it took them a while to switch the shotgun, giving the quarterback another long snap distance away from that rush type thing as it unsettled itself and throw over the top type thing, and then not have to deal with that in that type of sense. And since a lot of quarterbacks like to use the shotgun to look down the field type thing in that type of sense as their armament type thing in that type of sense, then it's not that big of a deal of a switch for them type thing in that sense. So it's actually a little bit more helpful type thing to see the rest of the field from bird's eye view without having trying to clear the center and the onslaught of linebackers, defensive tackles, and defensive ends as they come out of that bunch type thing because they're so far back there in that type of sense already, almost like a punt. And so in that type of thing, it makes it easier for them to see the rest of the field. So let's go ahead and get this going here, taking that type of sense. And that's the power of 4-3. Now, it is true that if the defensive tackles are disruptive enough, it makes the job of the middle linebacker fairly easy type thing because no one's going to touch them before they touch somebody else type thing that's trying to advance the ball. Usually, like without a fullback or something like that, these guys pinch up the 2 defensive tackles could pinch up the center and somebody next to the center. I believe that's the guards type thing in that type of sense, and the tackles are on the outside for an offensive line. And then that gets pinched up type thing, and then a middle linebacker who has got a full head of steam type thing meets an opposite force of a running back type thing who has nowhere else to cut type thing in that type of sense, and that's a tackle in the hole type thing in that type of sense or gap. And so it really makes the job easier type thing than one defensive tackle being in the middle type thing for the middle linebacker to watch this get cleared type thing and then just make those solo tackles type thing in that type of sense at 100, 130 plus per season. They won't mind that attitude type thing at all. So in that type of thing, that is what's going on here type thing. For the 4-3, it is based off of creating these 2 defensive tackles type thing and creating the pressure of the 2 defensive ends if they swing around the semicircle arc type thing to get towards the quarterback and then drop back, realizing the pressure from the center and trying to back away from that, only to be hit by the arc speed of the 2 defensive ends and just whacked, spun like a top. And so really have to look out for these formations type thing. But those are the 2 differences in between the 3-4 with 4 linebackers and the 4-3 with its 4 on the front line there. Thanks.